Welcome back to the Legacy of Love, the return of the Divine Cosmic Mother. I'm so excited that you're joining myself and my guest today, Amala Rose, for this very sacred conversation where we're going to be talking about the heart of creation with cosmic consciousness. We are in a process of remembering that we are love. It's a process requiring awareness and willingness to do the inner work, while at the same time practicing being the conduit, the bridge, and the stargate through which cosmic consciousness and the purity of unconditional love flows and anchors here on earth by reuniting the human self and the God self, the self that is purity of presence and unique essence of light. So let me tell you a little bit about Amala. Amala Rose provides somatically integrated quantum energy healing, cosmic sound alchemy, and embodied consciousness guidance. She co-creates with the clients and the collectives of light to repattern stress responses related to past traumas, release any energetic imprints while utilizing practical tools to regulate the nervous system and activate and update the light body and multidimensional ways that are unique to each individual for more joy, expansion, and awareness. Welcome, Amala.
Hi, Sherry. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to
Mm.
be in this space with you and for this intentional purpose that you're bringing forth, this beautiful container. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. You were a surprise to me. So I'm going to just share a little bit about you with the viewers because actually it was through my work with the academy, and you were on one of the I can't remember what it's called, the where you were kind of working with people and doing readings and stuff like that, and I went to assist Amanda with some support. So I thought I was going in there to support Amanda, and it was like, honestly, the moment I saw you, there was something in me that just felt so connected and so drawn to your energy. And I knew by the title, because you were talking about the ways of the rose and Mary Magdalene, and I'm very drawn to that too. So I think that was probably initially what was kind of like, ooh, that's resonating with me. But when you started speaking, and maybe it was the light language, I don't know what it was, but that connection was, I knew I needed to follow it. I knew. And so you and I have actually since worked together, and you did a private healing session with me, which was beautiful, by the way. And I thank you so much. And again, I just, sometimes we just have to get out of the mind and allow the wisdom that's coming from our body and from the heart to communicate. And so first, I just want to thank you, Amala, and open that up, sort of invite you and I to go with, what is it that was happening to me? Can you explain a little bit about that, like from the way that you work with people and helping us dropping some old patterns and recognizing that we are these sacred souls, these God selves embodied? Like, what happened to me that day?
um, yes, well, truly only you know everything that happened with yourself, but from my perspective, it feels very much like when something like that happens so deeply, so profoundly, it's about the resonance with the frequency and like some part of self recognizing those frequencies and perhaps recognizing those frequencies as self and yeah, feeling that resonance with love as self and self as home and all of those ways that are it's complex and simple, like there's so much happening at one time. So I don't remember exactly, but I do remember that we were talking about the rose ways and for a great deal of that time. And so perhaps some of that was your resonance with those frequencies, but also there's so much um, purity of unconditional love and potency of freedom frequencies and the spaces of allness that can be accessed more tangibly, or they're coming in more potently than ever before, at least for me. And more people are having more tangible experiences. And yes, it's like so many frequencies from a lot of different dimensional spaces at the same time. But truly, it all comes back to the heart space. And it felt like your heart ways were already extraordinarily open. And yes, it felt like a remembrance also that perhaps we may have known each other from another space and another so called time. But yeah, just, and even as I'm talking, seeing a lot of light code, like rearranging and orchestrating new patterns for both you and I, and also whoever may join us in the so-called future, whoever is going to join us for this in this beautiful container that you're creating. Yeah,
Mm.
there's a lot moving already in this moment. But yes, to answer your question, it seems to all come back to the heart and that recognition and remembrance and resonance. Some part of self beyond the mind, like remembers and knows in ways that we don't know that we know. And it's like when there's that remembrance at a cellular level, or however that happens for each individual, it's something so uh, powerful that it can't be denied. And the mind is left wondering, okay, what's happening right now? And there really aren't always, linear constructs and ways of understanding everything. But it is very powerful. And yeah, there's so much love coming in at this time.
Mm.
Yeah.
I feel that too. And yeah, thank you for that. And, it, what a beautiful journey that we're on right now, and really shifting from the mind to the heart, and really truly getting to, being each one of us is allowed this opportunity to experience ourselves as our divinity.
Mm,
And I was listening to Greg Braden actually talk today. He's on it. He was on a different summit, and he was defining divinity. I wish I would have written it down. But basically, I remember him saying all that is us remembering, beyond all these conditions and the perceptions and stuff like that, these false beliefs, remembering and dropping, transcending those things that limit us. And so then we do get to experience ourselves as these sacred God self beings, or divine beings. So I just wanted to share that with you and the viewers, because it feels important. It feels like when we talk about experiencing ourselves as our God self, there's so many people that are having a hard time with that because of the conditions. And even, I hate to say this, but religion, even too, having that God is outside of us.
yes.
And so let me ask you, what is your experience? Since this summit is about the legacy of love and the return of the divine cosmic mother, what is your experience with the divine mother that
Mm,
you can share with us that might help viewers relate to her a bit more too?
mm. Yes, my understanding of that has changed over time. Um, my first experiences were with Kuan Yin and who I call Universal Mother Mary. Um, but they didn't show up like, for instance, Kuan Yin first showed up as light, just the purity of light. And I felt it's almost like a texture and this complete change in my beingness as she was bringing me through processes to assist with the activation and flow of my light body ways. And it was that first experience where it felt like mother in a way, and so expanded, like what we believe unconditional love to be. I had never ever felt that way in my beingness, in my humanness ever. Even though I have people who love me, it's a different kind of love. It's so much it's so much more than I had ever felt. And the way that it felt in my body was so powerful and peaceful and freeing, and like all of the words, I'm going to cry again. um, uh, and then that same year, Universal Mother Mary presented in light form, and it's like they showed me images, how we believe they might look, um, just so I would know where the energies were coming from. But it was more about the consciousness and not the being as we perceive these beings to be. It was all about the consciousness of love and freedom and compassion and beauty and harmony and all of these things that I don't think I'd ever experienced before. Like I thought I had. I thought I knew what all of those things were. But it was so much. Like their beingness, like literally merged with my energetic beingness temporarily. It hasn't been sustained, but that sensation is something that it changed me forever, and everything expanded from there. So like initially it felt more like love, like unconditional love from beings or from specific spaces. um, and then over time it has become so much more and has become more cosmic. And even the word mother feels small, because of I don't even know how to describe it really. But it's so expansive, and really for me it's been about the consciousness, and that those beings were able to embody and emit and express and share and anchor and all of those things. And yeah, so it's about the consciousness and also the consciousness of creation from those spaces. So for me, that idea of mother is also about creation, the creation ways. Like whether we've given birth to human form or not, we're all creating in some way. And the creation spaces of the heart, in addition to the other ways of creation that we're all accustomed to, because that's like the multi-dimensional way. And so yes, they've been showing me so much, have taught me so much over the years about ways of creation from the heart space. I'm not even sure if I answered your question, because I was like traveling back in time and at the same time feeling the potency of what wanted to be shared in words, but there's like light code on all of the words, so I don't even know
Right.
if that showed up linearly.
That's so amazing how you traverse between the dimensions for myself. I can feel the connection, which is so beautiful. And so, if my mind tried to explain it, I could never explain it from my mind. I only know that it's a journey from the head to the heart. And truly, then when the heart opens, that opens us up to the experience of soul, of our sacredness, of our beingness. And so, one thing that you were talking about is the emotions that come up through love. And this is something I'm witnessing in myself. I see it in you. I see it in Loren. I see it in so many people who, you know, people who are still very linear in the mind might be thinking like, what's going on with that person? Why are they crying? It doesn't make sense. And you're right. That feeling, that depth of those pure frequencies that are coming through, the essence of unconditional love, that beyond any kind of word that we can use to define it. This is what we're talking about. This is what we're trying to get people to it's like, I want to experience that while I'm here as this sacred being. How do I do that?
Yeah.
So how do you help people do that? How do you
Mm.
help us get there?
Yeah, well, first yeah, thank you for sharing that. I often start a lot of my group processes with letting people know that when I cry, it's not from sadness, it's from the immensity of beauty, which even isn't a strong enough word, but like beauty with a capital B. Yes, because for me, it feels like it's almost like my body mm, can't even contain all of it. And so when that much flows in and the immensity of it and the freedom of it and the expansiveness of it, it's like, yeah, it's like things shake in new ways. And also, it's like that depth of feeling that hasn't been felt in these spaces for me before. Yeah, we aren't accustomed to these things. And so, to your question, when I work with people, either in groups or private sessions, a lot of it is about consistent and training with the frequencies. So, like, the more that we're in spaces where the frequencies are that potent, then the more the body and all of the systems, the physical, emotional, mental, energetic, all of the systems can entrain with and begin to notice what it feels like to dance with higher frequencies. Sort of how I explain it sometimes is it's like imagining that everything is in particle form and some things are dancing at different rates, and other things are dancing at faster rates. And so it's coming into the spaces whereby we can invite all of the systems of the self, particularly the physical and emotional, to begin to become comfortable with these frequencies. Sometimes it can feel alarming for the systems, and the nervous system can get activated even if it's something amazingly beautiful because it's great change. The body's like, oh, wow, this is like a lot. I don't know what's happening right now. And it can get a little bit activated. So a lot of it is about working with the nervous system at the same time. So the very practical things like that, and the entraining with the frequencies, and also, at the same time, we're working with all of the things that have been experienced that tend to keep us stuck in certain patterns. To work with repatterning some of those things, and also work with opening the heart space in ways that are comfortable and feel safe. So
Mhm.
it's like, yeah, we want to jump from like A to Z, and yet it's like all those letters in between, all of those beautiful spaces and practices and like practical things, in addition to a lot of energy work to assist the light body, working with the light body in addition to the physical form, and seeing where the light body connects with the emotions and the mental formations and the physical form. So, working energetically at the same time as bringing in some practical things to assist with the process, because it truly is a process that we're all in. And it's like, okay, where can we get on board, and where's the choice? It's always a choice. And where are the choice points, and bringing in the ways of beauty and the ways of love and the ways of joy and all of those things in addition to the other things. So the things that are a little bit more challenging to do, what people call shadow work or wound work. Um, Having all of that in the same space. And so it can be as comfortable as possible and as beautiful as possible. And a lot of people start experiencing more of their extrasensory ways through those processes. I just
which is
talked a
beautiful.
lot.
That's okay. I was actually thinking this would have been a really good time to take us through a practice, one of your experiential things
Hmm.
for us to feel. But before you do that, though, there's a few things that you were sharing, and now I'm trying to remember because I was really mostly feeling it, and that's the difference between being like our physical expression of self, our personal self, to being really experiencing ourselves as soul, the essence of ourselves. And so we don't, the mind doesn't it does, it's weird because it doesn't really retain things. It doesn't, not in the same way. Like, at least for me, it's like I can't hold on to things. And often I'm almost like I don't know what to say because I'm feeling it more than I'm in my mind. And so this is what when you and I worked together, I was never in my mind. It was everything. I could just feel it coming up, and so many things were being addressed in that session, and it was so beautiful. And so, would you mind like just giving the viewers a sample of what it's like when we work with you? Because your work is beautiful. You are beautiful. Like I can feel it. Your energy is so, it's, I don't know what it is. It's just, there's something about you. And this is what I was sharing with you earlier, is that I keep discovering that it's never about what I think it is. Every single thing that's happening to me is about my own unraveling, my own discovery, my own healing. And, you're here for an interview, but you're here for me. And then the others get to benefit from that too. And so I think this is what our journey becomes, is that we understand that even the things outside of us are actually about what we're all working on.
Yeah. Yes, and you're here for me, and uh, anyone who will join us. Where it's a true co-creation. Like that's how I view it. We all contribute and bring things in that then expand the field and expand the potentials for everybody. So yeah, I always feel that it's a like equal reciprocity and really beautiful new ways of co-creation that we're doing. So yeah,
Mhm.
delighted to offer a little what you call a sample, and also just letting everyone know that I, in private sessions, it would be more specific. So it would be really specific to what you are moving through at this time, and the things that you consider challenges and the ways that you want to expand and all of those things. But in group spaces, it happens a little bit differently, and yet everyone can receive. And yeah, Sherry, I also appreciate what you were sharing about feeling more than thinking. It's an interesting way of expressing now, like allowing the mind to be present so that we can still express in certain ways so that we're having words, and being the beingness and feeling all of this at the same time. So yeah, it's a practice for certain. Yes, but thank you so much for sharing it in those ways. It's beautiful how you articulated that. And so, yeah, anyone who's choosing, if you'd like to close your eyes, if that feels comfortable, and just fully arriving here, if the mind has been active, or if there's other things going on, if you've been multitasking, just coming home to this now moment, this present moment, bringing all parts of self home to self, feeling into this sacred space, feeling your feet. And if you're seated or standing, feeling your feet and where they meet the ground, where they meet the floor, and feeling the support of Gaia and all of the higher realms, the dimensional ways of Gaia that are already active. Beautiful. And whomever is open to receiving, bringing in frequencies that we have been speaking of. And as you may notice, my head and hands move a lot. It's ways of light, ways of frequency, streams, the ways that all flows through me as a conduit. So allowing all of the chakras to reopen if they have been closed. And at whatever levels are comfortable for self, allowing heart space to share and to receive. So much light code coming in from the cosmic spaces. In the ways of what's being expressed as Divine Mother, and yet truly it is a way, it is a frequency, it is a consciousness coming in through the crown and at your own pace, moving throughout all chakras and all systems of self. With a pure, and pure not meaning something is less than or wrong or dirty. For truly there is no such thing. But rather meaning pristine clarity of essence, pristine, crystalline, Christos, Sophia frequencies. And copious light code activations for those who opt to receive. Simply noticing the breath without judgment, just noticing what is the breath up to. And where are the spaces of resonance and coherence that are open to expanding and dancing in new ways for this moment, in the ways of peace, in the ways of beauty, in the ways of crystalline clarity, in the ways of allness, reconnecting with the allness of self and the essence that you are, that beautiful light and essence in human form. Love frequencies, for lack of a better term, but truly there is no space of lack in these spaces. All is limitless, all is free. Mihina ojuna kwetia. Maburta evashan botano kweten ita. Kimpeta nando koshata tiama. Bihila miheshawita. Mihina nano kota tiasha. For those who are open, white, red, and blue rose frequencies offered from the Magdalens as well. Lighting up any cosmic ways of self that are opting to do so. Coming back to your core calm of light if you've traveled in any way. Allowing any excess frequencies to simply flow back out through the bottom of the feet, sharing with Gaia. Thanking you and your beautiful hearts, in your ways of love, in your essences, for your presence here. Thank you. Nananakwata deyashata. Borata asha fuitene mananakolo korata ewita. Beheshana kata nakota deyasha. Hiempeta ojoto ejamabala korata ewita ananakoshatea. Miheleata. Thank you.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much. That's what I'm talking about. That's like, there's something about that that is, it feels like home. It's so beautiful. And then I heard you talking about the Christos Sophia consciousness, and that felt like home. And then another thing that came to me too is like we're all the healer on this journey.
Absolutely.
And that is leading us to that consciousness. And so rather than being from a religious aspect, this is truly pure self, our connection with our own. That's why it's only a journey that can be done by going within, no matter how many outside sources we work with to help us get there. And then that connection with these dimensional consciousness beings, and even the archetypal energies of purity and beauty and joy. All of that, there's a shift in our consciousness, and we may not always stay there, but we know that we made it there, and it was felt really good. And it's like, I want to go back to that. So that's what it felt like for me when you were doing this beautiful healing. There was beautiful. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, thank you. I lost your audio for a minute, so
Oh, for quite a while.
it's the frequencies. You're back, so I'm glad. But yes, I felt what you were saying. So thank you.
Oh, I hope that it didn't do it on the recording, but basically, I don't know what you heard and didn't hear, but it really was beautiful and it really did feel good. I know you heard that we're all on this healing journey.
Yes,
And I
and
know
each
you
person
were
really
on.
is their own healer, and
Yes.
we can get support from other people. We're all helping one another at different stages and different phases of the process. But yes, I loved that you said that. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And you know, it was important because I know everybody I talked to, including yourself, didn't start out the way that you are now. You had to,
No.
like that's the thing that people don't understand is that's the beautiful gift when we get to the heart, because then we have compassion for ourselves and we can accept all things, and we know that all of it, including the things that felt the most hurtful and the most painful and caused us the most separation, whether that's a person or a circumstance or whatever it is really all just designed by us to bring us home.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, I don't know that I could say that any better. So beautiful.
And that's it, right? And we know when the mind has taken over, which, and I hear myself saying that, and I always want to be careful with that because the mind is so important, especially when we get to the divine universal mind and connect with that. But it's more when the personal self is taken over, and then we're trying to get to something and achieve something and do rather than what we're talking about is of who are we being. We get to enjoy these energies, these vibrational, this feeling of love.
Yeah, and those ways that all of it can come together, like not making one thing wrong or bad,
Mhm, mhm,
but when we honor all of it as self. Um,
mhm,
yeah, and all the potentials that come from that, when all of it is in unity and unison and in
mhm.
that expansive space.
Exactly. And see, even I still do that separation thing because I just did that. And I'm not trying to because I understand that it all serves. And so it's almost like our little GPS or our internal guidance system is whether am I feeling this expansive feeling of self, or am I feeling contracted, and why am I feeling, and what is it that is being offered up for me? And we were both talking today that both of us have something going on currently in our lives that could cause us. Dr. Sue always tell I trained with her too, is we splat and forget really quick. And yet when it goes around and it comes around again, we bring in the wisdom. And so for anybody who's listening, every time we go through this cycle, it's like, oh my goodness, is it happening again? So yes, it is, but you're bringing in your wisdom and your consciousness, higher consciousness that you had the last time you went through it, knowing you can move beyond that and gain even more wisdom, more understanding, more compassion. I don't even think I don't know what that, that's just a statement. So what are your thoughts on that one?
Well, yes, I mean, I think it's beautiful that you're sharing that because I think that in these spaces, people may watch and like think that I'm this way in every moment, and that's not the case. Like I'm this way in this designated container in this sacred work, and it's a practice and a process of becoming and in practicing the becoming and being the beingness, which is possible at certain times. And we're also here to do this through our humanness and as humans. And so, of course, we're going to have experiences that are very human and at times extraordinarily messy. And yeah, what I've noticed is also when there are, I don't really know how to word all of this, but when there are bigger embodiment phases, when more light quotient is coming in to be embodied in my physicality, then more the things that I haven't fully completed or fully brought into that space of unity that are still triggering or still causing some sense of challenge in some way always comes up because it's being shaken loose. I don't know how else to describe it, but it like comes more to the surface. there's like all this code wanting to come in, but but it comes to the surface to as an invitation to allow more, what you're calling healing, more freedom, more like allowing that to be transmuted in some way and moved through with the mind if necessary. But there are also other ways. But yeah, so during big transformation times, when there's more light embodiment happening, at least for me, from my experience, then the things that are still hanging about, that haven't fully been brought into those spaces of oneness, do come up. And yeah, so we're all having a human experience. And yeah, for certain, I was not always this way, and all of this was not always open for me. And it was through great challenge and some really tough things. And I'm grateful for every second of it, because and all of this has become possible, and more becomes possible every minute and every time we do this, so-called work. Every time we do the practices, every time we come home to ourselves and go inward, and every time we share, like every time we're also being more outward, and we're sharing in these ways where the light code is dancing, and you're like sharing from your heart space and I'm sharing from mine. And yeah, it's really amazing and beautiful. And yeah, I love that you brought that forward, because it can appear, especially on social and everything, that everything is always in some pristine perfection. And we're still human. We're all human having this process and experience. And yeah, it's beautiful in those ways.
And it is, and what you were just sharing too, it's so comforting too, when we can see it from that lens, is that, okay, you know what? That means that I'm bringing in more of my light, and so this is coming up, so I can bring in even more of my light and more of me. But it has to be brought to my attention. Otherwise, if it just stayed dormant, that means that we're not really moving. So anybody that's going through a difficult time, then I celebrate with you, even though the personal self wouldn't get it. But our soul does. There's something within us. Like I remember when I was going through my divorce, and it was not a good marriage. And so, I had no boundaries. I really didn't even have a sense of myself. And so I thought I was in love with this man, and I do love what he brought to me, everything I learned. But I remember going through that and thinking, I am not going to come out of this the same way that I went into it. And so that was the beginning of my journey to self, with the capital S. It took many years. And eventually, though, what I really liked is moving into the heart. That's when all the compassion for, well, then that's when all the amazing things happened. That's when the magic happened. That's when the waves of energy come in, and it's like, wow, that's really kind of cool. And you can feel the energy coming out of your body, and you can feel this. There are no words. It's beyond. It's just, when somebody knows. And that's why it's such a joy for me to do the summit and to connect with so many beautiful sacred beings. And that's when my heart wants to cry. The tears want to come, because it's recognizing that pure love and acceptance and honoring. Mm. See, now I'm at a loss for words.
Yeah, and also that support, and knowing that we are not alone. We have the support of of our allness, our so-called higher selves, or I am presence, with the support of a lot of different consciousnesses and different dimensional spaces. And we have the support of each other in these spaces, which is so beautiful,
It
because
really
it's
is.
a very unique experience and process when one is conscious of it. And so to have spaces where we can come together and feel that support for one another and inside of a sacred container with all of the openness. Yeah.
Mhm.
What?
This,
How lucky. How
I
fortunate.
know,
How,
I know. And actually, this is the perfect time to bring in your offer. It really is, because that's where people are going to get to experience that, whatever it is nameless.
yeah. Okay. Um,
So,
yes.
yeah, please share a little bit about what it is that you're going to be, that you are offering.
Okay. So, well, I am offering a program and a 30-minute private session on Zoom where we will focus on activations, light activations for whatever stage that you're at right now. The program is titled Rebirthing Worth and Stoking the Freedom Fires for New Creation with the Rose Lines. And the subtitle, Purifying and Reigniting the Creation Spaces of the Womb and the Heart Through the Love of the Inner Child and the Alchemy of Dissension. And I just want to say that I kept asking over and over again, like, is this the program to offer? Because I thought I was going to be creating and offering something different, but over and over again, the answer was yes. And what I was receiving is because so many of the processes offered in this program are what a lot of people are moving through. And also, it's so important. A lot, it seems like some of the disconnect can be not feeling worthy of these spaces of love, not feeling worthy of receiving love, whether, like, even if we think that we feel worthy, if we do some of the work, sometimes there's some sense of unworthiness hiding out. And also, this beautiful way of being able to reunite with uh, the God self and with the higher self, the I am presence of self in this container where there's so much light, support, and frequencies from the rose ways, which are so loving and compassionate and beautiful, and bring in what I've found to be easier ways of receiving. The body seems to have a little bit easier time in these frequencies. And you will know, like, in the program there's a lot of light language also. So it's how it works is there's a lot of light language that flows and English in between. So the English comes through, like, describing what the mind needs to know and in terms of what's happening, the processes that are underway, so that there can be an understanding, so that things can be grounded and integrated in better ways. But there's a ton of light language with a lot of light code and healing streams, particularly for the womb spaces, the reproductive spaces of the female form, and for the experiences and the humanness through the female experience. So, any spaces of wounding or sense of unworthiness, and yeah, any spaces where there might be resistance to love, meaning love of self. So the more we can open to the loving of self, then the more we can open to the love that has been spoken of between Sherry and I. And what else should I? So there are 5 modules total. The fifth module is a bonus module. Each one is about an hour and a half long. And to read through everything would be uh, too much at this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like a lot for the light body and the physical body, the emotional body, and the mental body. Lots of light activations, and all of it is within the consciousness spaces of the rose ways. So it's extraordinarily beautiful and full of unconditional love and compassion and beauty.
That's beautiful. You know, when you talk about the roseways, I don't, it's weird how at some points these something comes to you like the way of the rose, the sisters of the rose. I kept like that kept kind of coming to me, and I didn't know what is that, like what does that even mean. I didn't even know, you know, Mary Magdalene was tied to that, or the Magdalena. And then all of a sudden the bee, you know, it's like, where's the bee coming from? What does she represent, or what does the bee represent? And then I found out, you know, you go and you do a little digging and research, and you find out like you have to go to the sacred aspect of things, because usually the way the things are defined are not exactly what the mystical teachings would be. And so that's sort of, I think, what's happening to us, so many of us, as we move into the heart, it is a mystical experience. And it's such a beautiful, sacred, um, synchronistic and magical, and even in the moments that are difficult and feel, you know, a little bit very hard. And how am I going to get through this? You realize there is so much more to you, to whoever is going through it, than the physical self they identified themselves as. And so what I see your offer is helping the mind. So what you're doing is you're helping the mind understand what the light language is coming in and doing. The light language is coming in and doing some repatterning, reprogramming, and dropping some of these things that have kept us bound into the physical. It kept us very limited into that expansive experience of self. But one thing I will say, I know, even from my own experience, it's not a one and done. It's not. And so its intention. And with your offer, you go back and listen to it over and over and over again. And each time there's a little bit of a shift. And sometimes we don't even know until all of a sudden we recognize, like, oh, I feel more expanded, or I see things differently. Like, you can't go back to the way that it was before, because all of a sudden your consciousness has shifted. You've elevated into a different way of being. And that's the beauty of it all. So it is outside, but it's inside. And so it's one, we have to do both, but really it's the internal experience that is the huge shift in us. Again, I just keep talking. I'm not even asking questions. I'm so sorry, but I have these. What's
Don't be
happening is
sorry.
you.
I love it. It's wonderful.
It's like you try. I'm trying to work through what's coming in. And that's another thing I'm finding during the summit interview series is I'm often, I don't know what to say. And that's not normal for me. Usually I have lots to say. But yeah, it's hard to explain.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, there was sort of some of the training in the beginning with the beings who were working with me is um, like I didn't know I was going to be doing these things. I had no clue. Like this was not even in my
I'm pretty sure
realm.
people might want to know, because a lot of people are very drawn to light language. Like, I'm even drawn to it. I don't feel like that's going to be part of what I offer, but how did that happen for you? How did
Um,
how did that How did you all of a sudden know light
it,
language?
it's very dramatic. I didn't know it. I didn't know what it was. I was in the midst of a great deal of inner work, as you were talking about earlier. I'm trying to figure out how to like pare this down a bit so that I don't talk a long time. But I was moving through a lot of challenge, which really blasted open my heart. So it was in the moment, horrendous experiences, a lot of heartbreak, but and also very sick. And so in the process of healing, I was so sick I wasn't even going to go. and I showed up, and someone had invited me to this event. I didn't even know what it was. And one person, two beautiful people, one was playing a crystal bowl and was doing some sort of different, language, and the other person was offering other things in other ways, both powerful beings. And you were bringing up the bee, this dear friend, she's a friend now, but she recommended that she's a beautiful channel, and she was recommending that I start doing, like, because I was talking about the bees and how they were coming in so potently for me. I used to go to this canyon where the walls are completely lined with beehives in the cliffs, and I went there on purpose because I was so distressed. And you have to be calm around bees because they can. I don't know the science behind it, but they can sense there's some sort of chemical emitted or something when you're really stressed out, and they can sense that. And so I would go into the middle of the canyon so that I could calm my systems, knowing that if I didn't, it might be, uh, a different kind of experience with the bees. But because of the cliff, the tall cliffs and everything, the sound, like the sound of the bees, I could hear it in my cells, like I could feel it in my cells. And so I was practicing doing vocalization with the bee sound, with the bees. And shortly after that, I happened upon a video of, I think it was Jamie Price, in some weird way, because I wasn't looking for anything. I was like on a crystal store website or something, and came across her. And the second it started, like, all of this movement came in, and all of these things were wanting to be come through my expression, but I didn't know what was happening. Like, I really thought maybe I was having a seizure or something. So I was like, okay, maybe I should call 911, or, like, I don't know. But something in me was just telling me to relax and be present and see what happens next. But it was very, very dramatic. At that time, I couldn't, so-called control the movements. They were really big and very expressive, and would come in at inopportune times, with all of the light language from a lot of different dimensional spaces at the same time that all this information was coming in. And so it was really powerful. And honestly, at that time, I was a little bit scared of it. And I was scared of what everyone was going to think, and I knew, like, people were going to judge me. Um, at least that's how I felt in that moment, because I was still healing a lot of things. And so but because I was healing physically, that's what I was doing with my time. And so that was the gift in being extraordinarily ill, that I had time to do these things. So I spent hours doing self Reiki and allowing the flow, and then receiving the information. And the beings over time were like, okay, you need to start recording yourself and get used to seeing, I didn't know that's why, but get used to seeing yourself do these, weird things. And then, invited me to start sharing at a certain point. And so I just kept, stepping in, even though it was really uncomfortable at every stage of expansion. But also, I mean, the like we were talking about, the immensity of love and support and everything I was feeling in my body, all of that is what helped me to heal physically. So I just kept doing it because like you were saying, I just wanted to feel that more and more and more. And the more I did, then the more I saw things shifting in the so-called external reality and the external experience. So I don't know if
So
I
that's
answered your
beautiful.
question.
You did though. So that's beautiful though, because so for each one of us that, like, we're going through this journey, the sacred journey. And when we discover that through the pain, through the suffering, through the illness, through the separation, through whatever it is, that is where the gift is going to lie. And that is where we switch from the personal self who is over identifying and clinging. And I remember, gosh, who was it that said, oh, I'm trying to remember what it is. The thing that keeps us in suffering is, now this is really a big concept. So, is our memories.
Mm.
We cling to the memories of what was. Yeah, and I can't remember who said that, but in a way that sort of does make sense. And this is why we were being told, just be in the moment. There is only one moment. There is only this moment now. There is only this moment that you and I are exchanging right now. There isn't something that's a few hours from now. There isn't something that was behind me. It's right now. And when I'm in this moment right now with you, there's an energy that I feel. I begin to feel it in me, this presence, this breath, this sacredness of life. And that's where the magic is. Again, just sharing. I swear it's just like there, I'm trying to get to questions, but it's really more what you're bringing up and what's coming through me, what I'm receiving from you sharing, and then what you receive from me. And this is what this is. I think this is what it is because our mind is always trying to think about what's the next question. And when I do that, I'm out of this experience. And that's why this is such a transition for me. And this is really weird for me because I know that I'm supposed to be conducting sort of an interview and I'm failing at that, but I'm present with you. And then I'm sharing what's coming through me by receiving what you were sharing with me. And this is how each one of us is tapping into more of our truth too, because somebody says something that lands for us and says, oh, wow, I resonate with that. I get that. And then your body starts to talk to you. And it's just such a beautiful journey. So I thank you so much for, being one of the leaders that take us, that was willing to step outside of your comfort zone, to do something that isn't very common. Because we're not meant to be common. We're way showers. Each one of us is a leader. And that one, I want to cry at that thought because that's the truth. Every single person here, every single person, period, all of us have it in us. So I thank you, Amala. You show us one of the leaders and one of the healers that helps us get back home.
It's truly an honor. I'm full of gratitude for being able to do this sacred, work. Work isn't the right word, but yeah, it's such a gift and an honor always. It's unique each time, but I'm, yeah, consistently full of gratitude.
Mhm. And I feel that in you. And you have a beautiful energy, and I could just sit in that. So, I there's not much more to say to the viewers other than, this is a beautiful offering. This is a beautiful gift that you can give yourself, especially as we're moving into the season of giving. And most of us have a hard time because we think giving is something that we're giving to somebody else. And I'm saying, no, gift yourself this beautiful sacred gift of discovering more about what lies within you, each one of you.
Mm.
If I could point to every single person, I would. And I wish I could see their faces, but it's weird because you can feel them.
Yeah, and I can see, instead of seeing all these light dots, I don't know how to explain it, but I'm just seeing all of these lights in the field. So, yeah, feel it in my systems and also seeing everyone's presence. And you were talking about um, time, and it's so interesting, and like memory, and now and then and the future, and I don't know. From my perspective, it's so complicated. It's because it's really all in the oneness. So, and in these other spaces, there's no time, but we're still operating within time constructs. So it's so interesting. But yes, we're moving into this, yeah, time. Yes, when that thought of giving comes, and it's like, and whether it's through this offer or simply like the gift of um, carving out more time for yourself to be inward in whatever ways that is resonant for each person. It's like we can always give more when we're more full, and when we have more flowing through us from those spaces. But yeah, that's the whole point of that offer. Again, like however you choose to do that, I hope that everyone can come home to themselves in new ways. But yeah, it's really about like how to how to be how to give to self, and how to be with self, and how to um, become more of the self-love, to be more of the love as we want to give to others, but for self as well. Because then when we're from that space, there's more that's given without even trying.
Exactly. Exactly. It so much healing. Everybody benefits from that. This is how we heal the world. This is how we heal humanity, and everything that's going on is just working on ourselves. It's that simple. And that, when you're in the mind, it's like, what can I do? I feel so bad. And it's this separation. We don't understand we're contributing to that consciousness of that fear. And so the best thing we can do is just spending time with ourselves and bringing ourselves to a place of harmony and peace and acceptance and self-love and all these things. There's one other thing that I would love to share, because I feel like that was the moment to share it when we're talking about time and going into Christmas season. And I know, like, I lost my dad 5 days before Christmas. And actually, the beginning of the summit is during my dad's birthday. And so I feel him so very much with me. But for viewers who are mourning the loss of a loved one, I heard something beautiful that I would love to share. Um, when we transition, it's like the person that we lost, that we love, there is no separation, there is no time. So it's not like, so we could move my dad, by the time I transition, it could be like 30-40 years before I get to be with his energy in like seeing or whatever it is. But when a person transitions, they're they're they don't feel like they've ever left you. So when we go to leave, there was no time lapse for them. There was no separation for them. We're the ones that feel the separation because of the time construct. But so for anybody who's worrying about, what's happened to them, and they never left you. They never left you. So I just wanted to share that, because I know Christmas is a difficult time. Mm.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful when we know how how sacred we are. So beautiful, Amala, from my heart to yours, I thank you for this very sacred conversation. And I thank the viewers for listening and for watching us and witnessing and being part of it, and actually feeling that too. And so I send you all peace, love, and blessings. Namaste, beautiful ones.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And it's just bye for now. We will continue. Bye for now, everyone.
This has been a presentation of New Earth One Network, your home for New Earth living. Access information, education, and videos on living from the heart in unity consciousness. Visit newearth1.com.